All right, this is another episode with Sober Living Inc. And we have Danny Scott.
Danny Scott.
And why don't we start by allowing you to introduce yourself and tell us where you're from?
I'm originally from Seymour, Texas. I moved to Oklahoma for about 15 years, and then I moved back to Wichita Falls in 2018.
How long have you lived in Wichita Falls?
Since 2018, so 6 years, 7 years.
What brought you to Wichita Falls?
Well, when I graduated high school, I moved over here after a short stint in college. I decided it was where I wanted to come to run the streets and play the game that I played for so long.
What college did you go to?
I started out, I went to University of South Texas in San Marcos, and then I quit my football scholarship there, and I went to Vernon Regional Junior College at the time, to rodeo, and that was short-lived as well.
Oh, what happened?
I just decided it was better for me to be running around doing things for myself than for others, I guess.
Would you say that you had a good childhood life?
Oh, my childhood was, I can't say it was perfect, but I come from a great family that, they hard workers. My dad, he was a farmer and rancher for years, and my mom, she was a nurse at the hospital for several years when I was younger, and then they bought a restaurant there in Seymour, and I had a great childhood. It was whenever I realized what real life was, that I went from doing things my way, I guess. Before that, my childhood, like I said, never needed or wanted anything. It was always, I had to work, help my dad and stuff, but it was, I look back, I got a brother and a sister, and both of them, they never had an issue with drugs or alcohol, either one. My brother, he went to the Army and got out of there. He ended up taking over my dad's farming and ranching because, of course, I was out on the streets running around chasing easy money. My sister, she has her own photography business now. Doing great for both of them, and just thinking back at childhood, and like I said, there was nothing that I could have done different as a child until I was probably 17 years old. Decided I was smarter than everybody else. Just decided it was all about me, and I didn't worry about what was future held, honestly, because I'm trying to think back, what my thought process was back in them days, and I never did have a thought process. It was more of a what feels good now. What do I want?
What type of drugs did you use?
When I first started, I might have smoked marijuana even up to today, maybe 10 times my whole life. I never agreed with it. I jumped straight into methamphetamine.
What would you say the difference between methamphetamines and marijuana, since you said that you dabble with them?
Well, back in them days, it was more of marijuana was just a let you relax type of drug. It was, and it still is. There's a lot of medicinal purposes towards that, but that's not anywhere where I'm going with that. But however, methamphetamine, it kept me going. I'm a high-strung person. It kept me where I wanted to be day and night. I could go out and party all night, still go to work the next day. I got to where I was going all the time, and my body was hurting. I mean, it's without glorifying it, the drugs back then were cleaner than what they are nowadays.
What's the difference? Like, what you mean by clean?
When I first started, it was back when it was what they call crystal meth or red phosphorus dope, and it was actually made in labs, and it wasn't, then it went to the anhydrous dope, which everybody knows what anhydrous is, and it's not good for you, but there's so many ingredients that just will kill you, and now what people will get it mixed, they call it crystal meth, and it's not. It's what they call ice, and it's it's a grown from a fungus, and it's processed, and it gives you the same feeling, but it's harder on your body. It has different effects. But back in them days, it was cleaner, and just a little bit would last you a long time. But I was staying up for 12 to 20 days at a time, just with no sleep, and not only no sleep, but it would suppress your appetite so much. I'd go 6-7 days without eating anything, and but my body was hurting so bad. So then I got into pain pills, and at first the pain pills wasn't a problem, but after I moved from here up to Oklahoma, of course I was running from charges and trying to hide from the laws, but I realized that I had just as big a problem with the pain pills to deal with, because I was staying up so long, my body was hurting. Next thing I realized, I was addicted to every opiate that you could think of, Percocets, Lortabs, Oxycontins, and then Xanaxes whenever I want to relax for a little bit.
About how old were you when you first started using?
I was 17 years old whenever I first started doing meth, and that was just maybe sometimes on the weekends after I had a long football game or something, and I wanted to go out and party, and I was tired, so I thought, you know what, I know how to do it. And
how old are you now?
I'm 46 now.
Okay, so
I had 27 years of, like I said, I ended up being addicted to meth first, and then the pain pills, then it went to heroin. And
with the pills, how old were you when you started using pills?
I was probably 24, 25.
So it was like a road before you got into pills.
Meth was my drug of choice. I mean, that's really the only thing I did. And it's, occasional cocaine, just whenever it was. But as far as, like I said, the meth was just, it was my gateway to everything else. The more I stayed up, the more like I said, I was a very hate-filled person, which led to a lot of anger issues. And my hate, I come to find out later, was due because of the bad choices I made. Basically, I had a football scholarship. Well, I didn't take care of that. I've had so many opportunities in life that I should be somewhere else, doing something else, instead of sitting at a place like Sober Living, trying to get my life back together.
So you kind of miss your college days, and if you could do it all over again,
oh man,
you're still right there at college.
I do so many things differently.
What's some of your stories, like going into college, leading up until that made you want to start?
Mainly just because I always had to be, front and center of everything. It was always about me, growing up in a small town, boys did what boys did. We'd fight over a girl. Next thing you know, I had 10 or 12 fights where nobody beat me up, and I got a little tough guy reputation, and everybody had to try me, and so it just ties it all in together. I mean, the drugs, it puts such a false sense of security in your brain and clouds every judgment, you know. So I couldn't. It got to the point to where I couldn't even make a decision with that. I couldn't wake up in the morning. I would do drugs to feel normal. It's what my excuse to myself was. That was my biggest excuse for not wanting to ever. Now, I wanted to quit a bunch of times, but I told myself so many times I couldn't, that I didn't know how to act. You know, that was my excuse to myself and anybody that asked me was, well, you know, I'm afraid of failure. So what if I get out here to try to be clean and I fail? What if I relapse? And honestly, in January, whenever I decided enough was enough, it was a hard decision. Because I knew everything that was drowning my mind with reasons to quit. I had one reason not to quit, because I could take one more hit, stick one more needle in my arm, and I'd forget about it. You know, everything was fine until that next hit.
So, like, during your experiences, like trying to get off of drugs has been harder. What's your experiences like when is it the withdrawals or?
Oh, okay. Well, whenever I quit heroin, and I got picked up on a warrant 3 years ago, and I've been doing heroin and meth for about a year straight. I mean, just as hard and heavy as I could do it. And when I went to jail, man, the withdrawals were just crazy. I spent 4 months in jail, and I never picked up the heroin again. But the meth withdrawals, like I said, you always end up with a headache. Just, you know, any kind of drug, you're gonna get dope sick when you don't have it, if you've been doing it. And but with the meth, it's honestly it's a mental choice that you make every day. I've realized in these few months that I've been clean that I just didn't need it all them years, and I have a lot of regret because I use something so simple to make my life harder and not even realizing it. I mean, it was like just, you know, never ending battle. You know, one more shot makes everything go away, just in your mind, but it don't go away. After about 30 days, your head starts getting clear, and like I'm 7 months clean today.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I still, things are coming back to me that I remember the things that happened, but even now I can't even put things together of when, where, and why, you know, because days just go on forever. I mean, like I can't tell you what happened on this day, or unless it was something major, a Christmas, a birthday or something. But even at that, I couldn't tell you a year to go away along with it. I could just tell you the occasion. But the hardest part of the sobriety for me is honestly friends and family. I've got a handful of friends that never gave up on me. You know, when I don't know why, because I'd given up on myself. When I went to the Hope Center, I went last year, and I give it a few months, and it just wasn't for me, and I left.
Okay.
All because I wasn't ready.
So what's the difference between, or what would you say the difference between your experience with the Hope Center and sober living?
Sober living has been it's such a different program, but it's, to me, is such a better program. for the simple fact it gives you the opportunity to make the correct decision. But not only does it give you the opportunity, it gives you the tools, it gives you great people behind you that if you need them, you can call them. It's not an inpatient center. It's not using one thing to get off another. It's using everyday knowledge, the will to want a better life, and most importantly, I mean, it's faith-based, and everybody in the program, that especially the ones that run it, know that without God and without the promise of a better future, that it's not even, it's not possible to get clean.
So in other words, like, sober living makes you feel like that you surrounded by people who's been there, done it, and now they giving you the tools how to win.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a close-knit family. That's everybody, every program that I know of, they want to use family, friends, but they don't always follow through with it. A lot of empty promises. I'm not going to say names or anything, but a good friend of mine that was in the Hope Center, uncle had died, and they had promised him that he was going to make it to that funeral. Like I said, it's an inpatient rehab, so you don't have the chance to get out and go do things.
So you have totally no freedom in the Hope Center?
No, I mean, you get a job, but they get your paycheck for the first several months. You're in the program for 10 months before you can get a job and get paycheck. And
so you don't have no freedom then?
You don't have no freedom. So you're stuck with a van ride from the Hope Center.
So you it's like being in jail without being in jail.
Exactly. And so, but on this guy, instead of taking him to Fort Worth to his uncle's funeral, that has been in the program for like 4 or 5 months at the time, they took somebody that was in jail to go pick them up to bring them to the center. And I believe that that's important too. But when your slogan is restoring lives and restoring your family, you can't take that away from somebody. And honestly, that was the breaking point that I had in that center. And being from Wichita Falls, I didn't know Jessica Dean, but I knew of her. And the reason I never tried sober living is because I knew of Jessica Dean.
So you knew the past of her?
I knew her past. I knew, and I'll go ahead and say this because I said it to her face. Whenever I would think about sober living, I thought Jessica Dean was doing it for more notoriety. And then I had the Hope Center van bring me to this parking lot as she was closing the doors on a holiday, and she said, "Get your stuff and get in the car." And we was getting ready for an open house for the girls' house, and just through that experience, just a little bit, I realized that Jessica don't do anything without her heart and being in it. She don't do anything for a selfish or a negative reason. She really, I mean, she's touched me in ways that I never thought, which I knew that I had a big heart, but she's given me the opportunity to show it and open it, and let me kind of make decisions based on that they need to be made, and the right choice needs to be done, not because I'm in a facility where if I mess up, I'm out the door. And don't get me wrong, when Jessica makes a set of rules, she means them. I know that firsthand, but she's a firm believer in second chances. I do know that. And her and everybody that works for sober living has done nothing but been genuine and sincere to everything that's said or promised. So.
And you said that you've been sober like 7 months. How many times have you been in and out of sober living since you?
Well, that's I did get dismissed. Matter of fact, I got dismissed just a few days ago.
Tell us the story.
Well, there was an issue where I had a pre-existing relationship with someone that happened to be in the program before I'd gotten here. We decided it was okay for us to still carry on that relationship, and we was told it wasn't, and we tried to not hide it, but we didn't try to flaunt it and try to stay within the rules. But like Jessica said, the rule's a rule, and it's not meant to be broken. It's not meant to be bent. And however, after she dismissed us, and today she called me in the office and said she was willing to give me another opportunity as long as I was still clean and I wasn't messing up. And I proved to him that I was, and like I said, she gave me that opportunity with a smile on her face, the same smile on her face that she had when the first day I come. And even the day she dismissed me, she said, you know, I love you to death, but you know, you're not gonna bully through the rules and think that you're somebody you're not. Trying to beat,
Trying to beat the system.
Trying to beat the system, more or less. And it did open my eyes, because I wasn't meaning to do that, even though my actions proved it. And that's what this whole group of people here, it's people can say a lot of stuff, but backing what you say and doing what you say is two different things. But like I said, as far as my experience with sober living, I've never met more genuine and sincere and heartfelt people that will go to the limits of their whatever. I mean, some people just, they don't really. I've had so many times in my life that people promised me something, or thought they were going to help me, when in all actuality, when it comes down to it, the only person that can help you is you. And they let you realize that here, because Jessica can't make a decision for me. I'm the only person that can make my decisions, but she shows us where to go, and when she says she's there for you, she means it. She's never not answered her phone. She's never not done everything in her power to make sure that, I mean, it doesn't matter, people in jail that need to get out, or somebody that's in the program that comes up with a warrant for whatever, for not showing up for court, or parole violations. There's so many things that just happen, and she's the first one to go to bat for you. She's the first one to pick up the phone and start calling lawyers and judges and bail bonds and whatever it is that you can't do, because we're bound, because nobody's going to ask for help until they hit rock bottom. And when you hit rock bottom, you have nothing. Most of the time, you don't have family, you don't have friends, you don't have a job, you don't have, either you're fresh out of jail, coming home from prison, or, I mean, sometimes people just get enough, and they, to the point where they realize they want something different. To me, it took all of the above. I didn't have a job, my family had already left me. The only thing I knew how to do was to go out and bring more people down into the gutter with me. and there's a whole lot more life than that, and that's what sober living shows you. It gives you the opportunity to go to meetings, you go to church, you get to go to so many different gatherings, but it's all positive and shows people that what the real part of life is, instead of back in the foggy part like I lived for so many years. It's I don't know how to explain it anymore. It's hard to explain life whenever you haven't really lived life.
Right. What would you say to your old 17-year-old self if you can do it all over again, and just starting when you want to pick up that first joint?
Man, everybody's gonna say they wouldn't have done it. I'd like to say that I can't say that I wouldn't do it again the same, because I don't have the 27 years of complete chaos that I had. But if I could turn back time, I would say that, yeah, I would have not done it if I knew what was going to happen. And it's just like playing with fire. It doesn't matter if it happens, it's when it happens, because if you play with fire long enough, you're going to burn yourself. You're not going to skate through everything and never get caught up in what you're doing. You got good habits, you got bad habits. Even your good habits, that's what they are. You do good, but not everything you touch, just because you got good intentions, works out for the good. But sometimes it does. And the same thing with the bad. Not everything you do is bad just because you're doing bad things, but it all catches up. And for somebody to just look at you and talk to you and know your past, know everything about you, and not hold that against you, man, that's whenever it's a real freeing feeling to know that you got somebody behind you that knows what you're capable of, but knows what you've done your whole life, and they're not there just preaching at you. They're just telling you, just keep doing what you're doing, keep doing your steps, keep doing the program, and you'll see that, because not everybody's gonna get out and get a great job. Some people are gonna decide they want to work at McDonald's or Sonic, and that's fine. Those are great jobs if that's what you enjoy doing. But there's so many opportunities where you can, and like I said, I've had so many opportunities to get clean and to stay off the streets and stay out of the hotel rooms, and it's just it's just, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just, it comes to the point to where I'm at a loss for words, because like I said, today I got another opportunity to show somebody that I wasn't going to give up on myself. And
that's great.
And I really think that if 3 months ago, the things that's transacted in the last 3 days of my life, I couldn't have. I'd have done been high. I said, nah, I know how to fix these problems.
So to the person who walking down that path, that wants to stop, don't know how to stop, and they right where you are, where you between making a choice, putting a needle in your arm or getting some help, like how do you talk to them and translate them to where they can say, I want to put the needle down and I need to jump on this path before I lose focus?
Man, I may not be the one to ask that question, because I'm to be honest with you, there's nothing that I can say or you can say or anybody can tell another person. For that person to decide it's time to change, they can the decision to change is that person. But when they do make that decision, it makes you want to try to find different people to hang with. It wants you to find different people to make better decisions with. You are what you surround yourself with. And I surrounded myself with trash for a lot of years, and it made me trash. Even though I had such a high self-esteem and in all actuality, I was trash. But when you're honest with yourself and you decide it's time to help, people can tell. And like I said, when you come to a place like Sober Living, that they bring that out in you. They there's bills to be paid no matter where you go, but they give you a chance to get a job that you want to work at and do whatever it is that you want. They don't put stipulations. Oh, you're going to go here and you're going to like it. You do what you want to do, but we're here to make sure that you're doing it in a good, clean, positive manner. And I've seen some of their success stories. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're an addict, sometimes they're going to succeed in their sobriety and some are not. But that all goes back to, like I said, it's a personal choice, and that's the deal with Sober Living. It's a personal connection. It's a heartfelt relationship and a connection that you just don't get nowhere else. It's not always about money here.
Right.
And that's the biggest difference I see here and anywhere else I've ever been to or have seen.
So, in short, what are your plans for, let's say, the next year till you get out?
Okay, my plans. As a matter of fact, I just went and filled paperwork out for my new job, and they said, "What was my last placement of employment?" And I kind of smiled. I said, "Well, I was a drug dealer." And the lady looked up. "Are you serious?" I said, "It was a heart attack, And she laughed it off. But my plans is I just started a job, a good career job where I plan on staying. But whenever I get out of this program, I plan on trying to give back, because there's so many things. Even a pack of cigarettes sometimes for somebody it's too much for them, And I know people that went out and got high because they couldn't afford baby food, they couldn't afford diapers, which don't make sense because it costs money to get high. That's one of them choices that But an addict is something that you don't give a choice to because they don't know how to make them.
Right.
And that's what we learn here is we learn how to make choices, and we learn how to make the right choice. And in every choice, there's always a right way and a wrong way to go. And they give you the tools to know what's right from wrong and how to make the right choices. And it's that's really all I can say about it.
Well, I want to thank you for your time, and I want to leave you with I hope whatever you do in the future, that is always blessed as always, and that you continue along your journey as you mature in your addiction. And I just pray for the best for you.
Well, I appreciate
hope for
that.
the best. Thank you.
Thank you.